There has to be boundaries, communication, and respect. I can't ever see myself moving forward without it. At this point, if it's not about the kids, then we have nothing to talk about. Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. It's your girl Michelle. If you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to turn your post notifications on so you're notified whenever I upload a video. Now, as you can tell by the title of the video, we're gonna get a little personal. This may be a sensitive topic to some, but I feel like it needs to be addressed. It needs to be spoken about more. So many children are affected by this, and as you can tell, we're gonna be talking about co-parenting and the boundaries after a breakup, even co-parenting, even in a relationship, of how to properly do it. And I'm gonna give a disclaimer very quickly. I'm not a professional, I'm not a doctor. I can only talk about things I have experienced myself. Without further ado, we're gonna jump right into this. When I think about co-parenting, like my personal definition is basically two mature parents who are willing and able to push aside any type of ill feeling or any type of feelings in general to come together in the best interest of the child or the children that they have in common, which sounds pretty easy, but sadly it's impossible in most cases. But if you're able to do that, you'll be able to co-parent. The first point that I would like to address is when you're co-parenting, you have to set boundaries. That's like rule number one. Before you can actually even move forward, before you guys can work and pair up as a team, you have to set boundaries. That goes for anything, relationship, friends, whatever. We need to learn how to set boundaries for ourselves, so people are not just allowed to do whatever they want in a situation. In order for you to set boundaries and co-parent together, you have to first be able to let go of any feelings. Sometimes we're holding on to anger. Sometimes the breakup wasn't because of you, so now you're still madly in love with this person. You have unresolved emotions and feelings. It seems impossible to actually come together and just focus on the child. But when you guys are interacting, it's strictly about the child. There should be no other interaction if it doesn't pertain to the child. In order to actually do that, you kind of have to unlearn the person, detach and pull away, kind of take your feelings out of that situation and just focus solely on the child, which makes the situation so much easier and less complicated. When you're around that person, certain things that you would be able to ask him or her, like personal questions about, you know, who they're dating, what they're doing, texting them, all of that stuff is irrelevant now. You kind of have to know your place. You kind of have to stand back, because now that's not your position anymore. All of those feelings and all of that resentment, hate, or whatever, you gotta have to just remove it. Do whatever you have to do when you're around that person just to be able to be cordial for the child. That goes into me saying keeping your personal business out of the conversation. Communication is the next thing, and very, very important of how to communicate with your ex, because when you hold on to feelings, you may address them in a different way, address them in an inappropriate way, display some type of anger or hurt, trying to get their attention. So you got to learn how to properly communicate with each other, respect each other. Again, this goes into having boundaries. You can't just call that person any type of time of the day unless it's an emergency that has to do with your child. But I feel like it's appropriate to come up with like a schedule between the two parties so that there's no miscommunications and there's no mix-up, which can then turn into arguments. What I've learned is that you just can't let your emotions come out in the conversation. Just eat that, suck that up. Also, you need to make sure that going into this with kind of like a business type tone, especially if your ex is still not over you or you're still not over them. In situations like that where you haven't really taken the time to properly heal, you can find yourself in a more vulnerable place, and if they happen to pat you in the butt or give you a compliment, then almost like playing with your emotions and leading you back on, and that's something that you don't want, especially if that's not what they want. You need to basically let it be known that, you know what, this is strictly what we're doing, nothing more, there's nothing less than that, so there's no mixed messages. Being mindful of how we behave and conduct ourselves while our children are present. We think that children don't pay attention. They are very observant. They are like sponges, and whatever they see, they will pick up. You never want to fight, you never want to show any type of argument in front of your children, because not only can that cause long-term damage, but you never want them to feel like they have to choose which parent they need to be with. That's hard for children because they love both of their parents. All the children want is for both of their parents to be in their lives. Being mindful of how you conduct yourself can definitely prevent any type of emotional issues to your children later on in life. We always want to be positive role models for our children to look up to, make sure that they are safe, happy, and healthy. Another thing I think that would work well for co-parenting is being flexible and open with one another. I'm not saying to be too lenient, which means allowing certain things to go on, because then that would just contradict everything I said about the boundaries. But if in the event that one of you have to change plans because you have to work late, or something happened, you got a flat tire and you can't pick up the child. Kind of be a little bit more understanding if this is not an ongoing thing. Now if it becomes every other day with an excuse or whatever, then that can definitely cause some type of, you know, tension. Be flexible with one another. I feel like that will literally help to be more cordial, to have a better understanding, and to release any type of tension, because now you guys are able to work and compromise, having an understanding that each parent's different. There is literally no manual that tells you, you know, this is how you're supposed to parent. And I know that every mother likes to do things a certain way. I'm guilty, but I feel like fathers should be given the same exact leeway and same exact chance to do it the way that they do it. Everybody does it the way they do it. As long as the child is not being harmed or affected in any type of way, I say if the father's shown effort consistently, then I say allow him to do that. There's so many children that are yearning for that mother love or that father figure in their life, and because of two parents who just couldn't get it right due to their personal unresolved issues with one another, now the children have to suffer. And because your relationship failed, why should we keep failing our children? These are children that weren't asked to be brought into this world. These are children that deserve love, deserve to have that quality time, feel important, so that they can grow up and the cycle doesn't keep repeating, because it all starts from when you're a child. And when children feel neglected or the absence of a parent, it literally starts to affect you as you get older. I can speak for myself. I didn't even know, having my father absent throughout my whole life, I didn't start feeling it or really hurting until I became an adult. I just started to kick up certain feelings, and I started going back into my past about certain times and dates and events where he wasn't there, started to come back, and I kind of relived it. So if we can do something different, if we can stop this cycle, I say that it's all about the children to have that relationship. They deserve to have both parents, even if they are living in different households, or even if they're not the best of friends. Don't let your children know that. Fake it till you make it. A lot of people need to understand that. Take your emotions out of the situation. It's no longer how you feel about that person when you guys break up. Put all of your time and your effort into being the best parent that you can for these children. Really important to try to control your emotions if you're unhappy with something that he said or she said to you, especially when you're in front of your children. You know that saying, do as I say as I do. Children will do as you do. Bottom line, period. They are constantly watching you. Children are gonna watch, children are gonna observe, and you don't want them to not only feel like they need to choose, but you don't want them to start resenting you. You don't want to be that parent who your child resents, because I've never experienced that. Imagining them feeling any type of hate towards me would just crush me, because my love for them is so strong. Once a child is angry, it's really hard to knock out those walls down. They are literally looking for love. A lot of parents make the mistake of just buying the child gifts. When they do pop up, it's a gift that makes the parent look good. It's temporary excitement for the child. But what happens when they're done playing with the toy or whatever it is you got them, now they're looking for you. Now they want you to take them to the park, teach them how to ride a bike. They want you to go to their softball game or their volleyball game. There's so many things that come into it, and I feel like part-time is just not enough. I'm gonna go back into the boundaries again. There's no part-time father. There's no part-time mother. I feel like it's all or nothing. I don't feel like you should pick certain days or times where you need to see your child. But if this is an agreement that you do have and you are consistent with the setup the way that, you know, you guys have it, then that's all well. But for a child to be able to not know how long is the next time before I get to see my mother, how long will be the next time before I see my father, that is where the long-term damage starts to stick with the children. I just feel like I see so many broken children, so many broken adults yearning and wanting that type of relationship with parents. And so if nothing else, if the relationship happened to fail and it didn't work out, you don't just leave the kids because the relationship failed. Step up to the responsibilities, do what you have to do, even if you don't think that you can tolerate that person. You have to put your feelings aside, because our children are what's the most important, and how we act, how we conduct ourselves is how they will blossom and how they will, you know, turn out when it's all said and done, because of what we teach them, what we show them. Another thing that's really important that I stress when co-parenting is to never speak foul or ill about your ex to your children. That is just one of the most hurtful things that you can do. You always want to let your children make their own decisions, let them learn and see things for themselves. I see a lot of children being affected by that due to what the mother is feeding to the child or what the father is telling the child about the mother. It really confuses their minds, and they're so innocent, they don't need to even be an adult business. It's not for them to have to figure out or even ingest. It's just very immature to speak ill about your ex in front of a child who doesn't even understand life. And if you have an older child or whatever the case, it's still not in the best interest to display any type of ill emotions towards your ex. Speaking ill about another parent causes confliction between the child and the other parent, but it can lead to poor self-esteem because you're speaking so bad upon their parent, and now they're thinking maybe this is true. Now they're believing what it is only because they're trusting what you're saying and they feel what you're feeling. They don't think that their parent loves them because this is what the other parent is telling them. Now their mind is just feeling all types of things. It can allow them to go astray, try things that they shouldn't try because they're trying to run from what they feel. They want to feel numb. They're so confused. They don't want to be in the house. Now you're dictating and you're brainwashing that child, which is so unfair to the other parent who, you know, probably has great intentions, but because the child who solely lives with, you know, that parent, they are more susceptible to listening to that parent because they don't see the other parent on a day-to-day basis. There's so many things that can go into it, so definitely need to be mindful when feeling some type of way. And I understand that it can be very difficult when dealing with an ex, when it didn't end on good terms, but you gotta save that for somebody else. Do whatever, just don't put it on your children. Let's not normalize, you know, speaking bad or insulting another parent in front of the children. It's really important to make sure that you guys are making shared decisions. Everything should be 50-50. You guys created these children together. Both parents should be able to decide what is going on when it has to do with the child, especially when it has to do with school, sports, whatever the case may be. You want to have that open relationship to be able to discuss certain things pertaining to the child. Another thing when co-parenting is to really check in on your child. This could definitely take a toll out on your child, especially with such a difficult transition when they're used to seeing both parents living underneath the same roof to now just seeing that one parent. So if you're noticing that their behavior is different, they're a little more quieter, they look a little sad, I just feel like it's important to check in on them and allow them their time and allow them to express how they feel. It's not easy. It's not easy. Children do have feelings, and a lot of times I've heard this growing up, you know, a child needs to stay in a child's place. That's great, you know, but a child does need to be able to express what they feel and not have to suppress their feelings because they're afraid of what the outcome is going to be from their parent. The worst thing a parent can do is shield a child or make a child feel fearful when coming to them because they're going to get yelled at, they're going to get screamed at, they may get hit. You want to always have that comfortable relationship with your child where they feel like they can come to you with anything and not have to go to somebody else or choose another alternative just to be able to get their emotions out. Children need time to transition and adapt to such a sensitive situation. With that being said, all of this is done for the child. Make sure that their quality of life is great, that they find happiness as they're growing, and you know, they have the support and the proper structure and a positive environment as they are going through their, you know, their journey in life. So at the end of the day, time heals all wounds. So whatever it is that you face with that person in the relationship doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to experience the same thing now that you're co-parenting. Some people do better when they are just friends instead of, you know, in a relationship. So you kind of have to look at it like that, and you don't have so many expectations now at this point because the focus is not solely on being in a relationship and how you guys are going to work together to make sure that child has a good life. A good parent is going to fight for their child no matter the situation or circumstance. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you like, you comment, and you subscribe. Also comment down below if you've ever had to co-parent and how it worked for you, what tips and tricks that you use to be able to conduct yourself with your ex. Being said, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Don't forget to click the bell. Follow me on all my social medias.